successful is being in the spot or the momentum of being unsuccessful, but you keep doing it over and over and over and never give up. It's going to pan out. It's going to work out. You're going to get the success you want. You're going to get the desire that you want. If you decide in your mind, I want to accomplish this, nobody is going to tell me otherwise. People can talk about me, say everything negative about me under the sun, and tell me things that I'm never going to succeed. I'm never going to accomplish what I want because of 1,000 reasons why. Because my past has shown me that it's not possible, but in all reality, you can change your past and make your future better. You have to decide what you want. You want a better life. What does that mean for you? You want to have that successful family. You want to have that girlfriend. You want to accomplish all those things. But how do you get there? How do you accomplish that? How do you do what you're supposed to do? Because there's people around you that are really successful, and maybe they have more money, or maybe they have a support team behind them, and that's why they're doing really well on in their brick and mortar business or their YouTube channel, because people like their content. But what if you're just trying to start out? You want to start a YouTube channel and you don't really know what to offer the community that's around you. You want to do something different. You want to be somebody different. But you don't really know where to start. And you believe that it's possible because other people have done it. So, what do you do in the meantime when you're in a lull or you're just slowly moving forward? You want to accomplish that goal. What does that mean? Because everybody is in a different chapter or variety of what's going on in this reality, and you have to choose what you want. So you want something, but you don't know how to get it at this moment. So are you just going to give up because this moment you're not having what you want? You want to have that fancy car, but no way around. In reality, right now, you're seeing a way how to get to it. Sometimes you got to be so delusional about what you want that it's possible. Like you want to accomplish the goal or the mission that you want so bad. Like your inner child wants something so bad because it didn't get it when it was growing up. You want to have that fancy sports car. Your inner child wants that fancy sports car because when you were little, you're like, oh, I want that. And then everybody around you is like, no, you can't have that. It's too much money. You're like a 10-year-old little car, a 10-year-old little boy, and you're like, hey, I really want this 1970 Camaro with a supercharger. and custom exhaust, and everybody around you is like, no, you're never going to get that because you're too young right now. And then when you become older, you're like, that's all I want is that car. And then when you get that car and you drive it for the first time, it feels the most amazing thing in the world. You feel like you're on top of the world because you waited so long to get it. But in all reality, you didn't wait that long to get it. You just aligned with that. And that's when it come around because you align with certain things and then they come around. And when you get to a point where you're like, I really want these things, but they're not important right now. But if they're meant for me, they'll come to me when the timing is right or when the alignment is right. I think that's like challenging about YouTube is people want to build a YouTube channel, but where do you start? What do you do? What do you say? How do you talk to your audience enough that they're going to be like, hey, I like this guy. I want to hear what he has to say. I want to follow him. I want to see how he's going to develop into his spot or his chapter or his channel. I want to see how it plays out. Like, I'm really curious. And there's going to be times where you're in a lull and you're like, I really don't know what to do, but I don't want to give up. But things are striked against me at the moment because it's like not flowing the way I want it to. Like today is kind of a lull day. I want to keep the momentum, but what am I going to do to motivate myself to get where I want to go? Because you have a goal, and then when you accomplish that goal, you want to do something else with that. You want a different one, or you want to tweak it. And some people want to give up because it's getting hard or difficult. And that's when you got to keep going. When things are really dark and you can't see the end goal, the end tunnel, you can't see what's going on because it's dim and dark and hard and you don't want to give up, but everything around you is like showing you like if you just gave up it'd be so much easier. But you're like, no, I can't do that. That goes against the fiber of my being. But sometimes, what am I going to do? What am I going to say to motivate somebody to keep moving? Because I don't feel motivated at the moment. That's maybe the time when you need to rest and think and process it and say, hey, I want to accomplish something really bad because my inner child wanted to accomplish it when he was 7 years old, and his caregivers told him it wasn't possible because it was either too much money or it was not possible to build your dream car at 10 years old because you don't know what you're doing. And that's all you ever wanted. And then time passes and you're like, how do I get that feeling back of the inner child building that car? Like that's all I want to do is just put a car together. And some people will be like, it's not a big deal. But to your inner child, it is a big deal because it wanted to build it so bad. And people around you are like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. And they said all this stuff. And time passes. You get older. You get motivated to do something else, and you're like, all I want to do is build this. Like, I want to accomplish this. And I don't want to just do it for me, I want to do it to prove that it's possible. Like, all you want to do is build a custom vehicle. You want it to be one of one. And people are like, oh, your idea is so stupid. It's not going to work, and it's going to cost too much, and it's not going to pan out. Like, you hear all these things, people telling you all this stuff. It's not possible. You're like, deep, deep in your heart, you're like, no, I want to do this. I want to accomplish this. Like, you won't understand why, but there's a piece of me just really wants to accomplish this. And there's no other way around not doing that. And it's like all I ever want to do because it means so much to me. Like, it's something that consumes me. And it's like, it's all I want to do. And there's nothing else I want to do but that. And people are going to say what they're going to say because they're going to have different experiences and different feelings. And they're going to have different ideas about things. And they're going to tell you what they think. And maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's neutral. You kind of have to figure it out yourself because there's no handbook on how you should do things on this planet. Because one person will tell you something and somebody else will tell you something else. And you have to decide what's important. What Bob told you, what Jim told you, what Fred told you, or what you think inside of you. Because as a little kid, we were told not to listen to our intuition. We were told not to listen to our inner child because that's not what guides us. We need to get guided by some external thing. But if you look at how we were created in our purified image, our intuition told us what to do. But if you were told by certain people, certain protectors, something different, and now you're an adult and you're confused because all you want to do is listen to your inner child, but it's so wound up because of everything it was told for so long. How do you know what you're supposed to do? Like, all I want to do is build something. And then after you build something, then you want to build something else. It's like in your natural habitat of how you were created is when you were little, you're like, all I want to do is create. All I want to do is imagine. You want to create, imagine. And when you get older, it doesn't really change. It just gets told, no, it's not possible. That's really dumb. Like everything, you get told all these different excuses. And at some point, you're going to have to realize that everything you were told doesn't really matter. What you need to do now is follow that little inner child because it knows what it needs. And when you get to that point where you're like, I know what I need, exactly what I need, and people around you are telling you something different, then maybe you need to think about what they're telling you. Because your mom might tell you something, but that could only be what she thinks or what she believes because she doesn't want to deal with her inner child. She doesn't want to process what's going on. She just wants to play a victim, or she wants to play a narcissist card. And then your dad is abstinent, like emotionally when you were growing up. And you're like, my mom's a narcissist and my dad is abstinent emotionally. And all I want is love. And every time I come up with an idea, I say it out loud and they talk me down or they shame me for it because they don't like that. It rubs them the wrong way. So when you get older, you're just like, I'm going to say what I think. And people are going to not like that. And you're going to have to decide who you want to associate yourself with. Who do you want to be around? Because if you look at how you were raised and you don't like how you were raised and you wish you could go back and make a difference, you wish you could go back and just hug that little inner child and say, hey, I don't like what's going on right now, but you're going to get through it. It might be really painful. It might be really hard being that little kid and you're having adults tell you what's going on. And you're like, but that's different than what I'm feeling. I'm feeling this, and you're telling me that. And it's very contradictory. And it doesn't add up because your intuition is telling you that, why are you yelling at me when all I want to learn how something works? But you don't like this. So you get mad because you want to be in control of what's going on, but it really doesn't matter what's going on at the moment because you're not in control. Sometimes things happen to and you're like, I'm not in control of this moment. Now, how am I going to choose to react? And maybe the first time I'll get angry because they triggered me. But later, I'm going to realize why, because that belief system doesn't apply anymore, and that's what needs to go. Like it needs to get uprooted and deleted. Because everybody's going to talk about you. They're going to say things about you, negative, positive, or they're just going to say, blah, blah, blah. This is what I think about you. And you're going to get that wherever you go. People are going to do that. And you have to decide what you want. You want to be your genuine, humble, empathetic self. And people are going to question you and doubt you and say you're incompetent and you're stupid and you're an idiot. They're going to tell you all these things. But if you sit back and you think about what's going on in that situation and you hear what they have to say and then you process what's going on, some of that stuff that they say is how they feel about their internal self. And they'll say something, they'll voice their opinion because they're like, I don't really know how to feel in this moment. I really don't know how to express what's going on. So you jump to a conclusion about something. And then you think about it, later, and you're like, they were wrong. But the reason they were wrong is because in that moment it was heated and things were said that they thought mattered, but it didn't really matter because they were coming off a baseline of fear. They felt fear in that moment, and they didn't really know how to process their fear. So sometimes, instead of feeling the fear and feeling the judgment, it's so easy just to project what's going on. And most people do that. They don't want to sit here and contemplate what's wrong with them. They want to project and say, hey, things you say bother me, but I'm not mature enough to tell you that. I'm just going to jump to conclusions and throw you under the bus because I prefer to shame you or condemn you or project my own shit on you because I don't want to deal with it within myself. And when you get to a point where somebody says, like, I don't like what you're telling me, you're incompetent or you're stupid, and you think about it later and you're like, no, I'm not incompetent, I'm not stupid. I'm just more intelligent than you are. You just felt triggered, so you project your insecurity onto me because you don't want to deal with it within yourself. And when you get to a point where you're like, people are going to say their opinions about you, like, you need to shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, you're very well spoken. Sometimes you're too deep. I don't know where to fathom where you're going. It doesn't really matter because you know what's right within you and you have an end goal. What you want to accomplish is you want to accomplish what you're supposed to accomplish. Like, if that's going back to that story of when you're 9 years old, 10 years old, you really want to build that custom car. Like, that's all you want to do. And nothing changed the 40 years from then and now. So you're 9 and now you're 40. And you still want to build that car, but a bunch of things happened in life. So you feel like you got sidetracked. But part of being sidetracked is realizing that sometimes getting to your finish line is not one straight road. Sometimes you got to go through the 12 inches of snow. You have to walk up the creek. Maybe even you have to crawl up the creek to get where you want to go. And you want to accomplish that. And it's not always a straight path. Sometimes you got to veer around the tree, or you got to dig a trench through the mountain. But you don't want to dig a tunnel, you want to dig a trench. So, however you want to look at something, you have to decide, what are you willing to do? Because people around you are going to say things to you that maybe used to bother you, but now you've gotten to a point where they're saying things because they're thinking, who is this person? What is this person? What are they doing? Because I'm interested. Or they just hate you for no reason. And if you're on that path of what you're supposed to do, it really doesn't matter who hates you or who judges you. or says you're incompetent or you're stupid or you're just a jack off, because you're going to get to a point in your life that it just flows off your back like water off a duck's back. Just like, whatever. That used to bother me. Now it's just whatever. People can say whatever they want to say. And things happen to you, and you're like, all I want is to have this. Because I didn't get it when I was little. And I can have it now. And that's what you have to decide, what you're willing to do to get there. Maybe you're little and all you wanted was this go kart. You wanted a custom go kart so bad. You're 6 years old and your friend has a custom go kart, has a really big engine, and it has really fancy wheels. And you're like, all I want is this go kart. And then people are like, no, you don't want that. It's dangerous. You could get hurt. You could break a leg. And you're like, all I want is this go kart. And then you get older and you build the go kart all by yourself. You take a welding class so you can learn to weld. You take a small engines class so you know how to build the engine. And you go to the junkyard and you're like, this is what I want the go kart to look like. And you go to the junkyard and you're like, I want to get a 4-cylinder engine because they only had a 2-cylinder engine and I want more power than that. So you get a little Honda engine and you're like, I want a racing seat. So you go on Amazon and you buy a racing seat. And then you go to the welding supply store and you get all the metal because you want to build the frame from scratch. You don't want to buy a car chassis and cut it all up and customize it. You want to build it from scratch. So you go to the metal store, supply store, and you get all the metal. And you decide, okay, this is what I want to build. I know how to weld. I got a Honda engine. Now I'm going to put it together. And then I'm going to get my racing seat on Amazon. And I'm going to build it. Because when I was that little 9-year-old little boy, I wasn't capable of building my own go kart. And it's like all I ever wanted. And now I can accomplish what I wanted. And some people will be like, big deal. You waited your whole life to build a go kart? Maybe they don't understand. Maybe they don't understand what's going on, why you wanted to build that so bad, why when you were little you weren't capable of doing it.